in Cape Girardeau, and this is our final coaches show until football season next fall. So this will be the final spring coaches show, and we will be talking Redhawks tennis with the OVC Women's Tennis Coach of the Year. Mary Beth Gunn will join us. Grace Powderly, who at one point we will address her as Dr. Powderly. She will join us a little bit later on in the show. And the athletics director is here at Wings, etc. So we'll get a chance to catch up with Brady Barkey. That will be coming up in just a few minutes. Want to remind you that if you're coming to Wings for lunch, make sure you check out their daily half-pound lunch specials. They start at just $7.99, and they've revamped their menu. If you have not been to Wings lately, they have a revamped menu, including their terrific burger menu, and their brand new mushroom and Swiss diner burger has been added to the burger list. They also have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and of course their award-winning wings. Their appetizer lineup is terrific, including their ultimate nachos. If you have not seen how big this platter of nachos is for the ultimate nachos, it is fantastic. They have deep fried pickle chips. Those are a popular item here. And as we mentioned, the daily half-pound lunch special starting at just $7.99. You can now order online. You just go to the website and make your order if you'd like to stop by and pick it up. Or if you would like it delivered, you can do that. And they have partnered with DoorDash. So all you do, go to your app store, download the free DoorDash app. Takes you a couple of minutes, set up your account, and then you can shop Wings Etc's menu and have it delivered wherever you are. It is the home of the Redhawks Coaches Show, Wings Etc. Good food and great times. We're going to start with tennis. Coach Mary Beth Gunn is here. This is year 7 for you at Southeast Missouri State. Does it seem like it's been 7 years since you took the job?
It has really gone by quickly, honestly. I actually forgot it was 7. I thought it was 6. So that shows how quickly it's gone by. But I've loved every minute of it, and I'm super happy to be here.
Boy, the way that you have established this program, I know back in 1993 they had a really good year, and I think they had 6 conference victories back then. But boy, you went 7-0 last year, won the first ever SEMO OVC Women's Tennis Championship. What was that like?
It was amazing because so much more goes into winning a championship than just playing those 7 conference matches. So all of the hard work that all of the players have put in, and our administration and me, everything those past 4 years to make that happen really paid off. And so it's just nice to see things come into fruition and see people focused on their goals and be able to achieve those goals.
And, you know, sometimes when you have a player of the year in any particular sport, oftentimes they're a senior and they're not back for the following season. Not the case with you and your top player, Romana Terayova. She was the OVC player of the year. You had the OVC freshman of the year, but to have Terayova back for another year, how big was that for your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge because she plays in our one position, and she does a great job at that. She's had a great season so far. She beat the EIU #1 a couple of weeks ago, and she was the OVC Player of the Year a couple of years ago, so that was a big win for us. And she's really been playing great this year, and it's huge to have somebody in that spot who's competitive and can handle being at the one position.
So you come in to this weekend already 11-4 overall, but you're 3-0 in OVC play, so you're in first place before you head to Nashville this weekend, and a big win over SIUE, because they are 13-2, so they've only lost twice, and one of those losses was to you in a close one, 4-3. How big was that victory?
It was a huge victory. We had lost 5 of the first sets, so it wasn't looking good for singles, even though we had won the doubles point. But what I was proud of is we had people who didn't get down and who just kept pegging away and coming back and stayed really focused during their match, and that's why I think our mental toughness was a little stronger, and I really think that's what put us over the edge in that match.
Boy, I know a lot of athletics is psychological, but I think tennis has to rank pretty high on the psychological sports in terms of, man, you can really get in your own head. A lot of times when people lose their temper, they don't seem to play better. The only person I can remember that played better was John McEnroe when he would get mad. But, you can get rattled in the game of tennis, right?
Sure. I mean, it's really hard because if you're having a bad day, nobody can substitute for you. Like you're out there, so you have to figure it out. So it's really difficult if you're having a bad couple of games. You've got to figure out, how do I get myself back calm, because it is a very technical sport. So if you're angry or you're upset and you're really emotional, it's really difficult to play. So that you've got to kind of get yourself back going again, back to a neutral or a calm position, so you can let yourself play again.
Boy, I'm sure you get this a lot, just the international flavor that you've got on your roster. I mean, you have one American, and we're going to talk to her, and that's Grace Powderly from Notre Dame High School. But just for the people that are not huge Redhawk tennis fans, you have a young lady from Bogota, Colombia. You have players from Slovakia, Taiwan, Russia, also Macedonia, and Ukraine. So you talk about an international flavor, and we have talked to you in the past. You do a lot of your recruiting via YouTube.
Yes, I'm not really able to go to every country out there, so most of our recruiting's done with recruiting companies, YouTube videos, things like that, looking at their junior results and things like that and contacting them. So a lot of it's just done virtually. Most people, I haven't had anyone international get to come on a visit before they commit to SEMO.
Really?
So their first time coming to SEMO is when they come here for freshman orientation.
Now, can they communicate with a current member of the team so they can kind of say, well, here's my experience in Cape Girardeau, Missouri?
Yeah, they can do that. They can talk with a player if they want to, and they can get kind of some of that information. They can ask questions about me, to make sure that I'm being truthful as well. And I think that our players do a good job of being honest and being, hey, this is the experience. We've had great retention here with our players, so we try to treat them as well as we can, and I think that helps in the recruiting process.
Boy, so anybody that would look at the roster would say, okay, you've got 2 players from Russia, you've got 1 from Ukraine. That's an interesting dynamic, and you and I were talking, and your Ukrainian player is actually roommates with one of the players from Russia.
Yes, it's a really difficult situation for all of our players right now, because there's just a lot of uncertainty. But they've done a great job of getting through it and not letting that break friendships or break trust and things like that. So I'm really proud of how they've handled the adversity that they've faced, because it's not easy to live through things like this right now.
So your player from Ukraine, Coach, Miroslava Zelenchuk, is she able to communicate with her family? How are things with her family in Ukraine? Because I know that's got to weigh heavy on everybody's mind, especially when you're away from your family.
I mean, it's not perfect, but her city is in the western part of Ukraine near the Polish border, so it's a little bit better. But her family right now is helping refugees, like they're housing refugees from the eastern part of Ukraine right now. But they still do have access to electricity and internet, things like that.
Good.
So she is still able to communicate with her family via those means.
So if they've got FaceTime, they can Zoom, or if they've got internet, then they can FaceTime and Zoom.
Yes, she's still been able to communicate with them, like with FaceTime and things like that.
And
yes.
I've got to think the outpouring for her and what her country is going through has probably been pretty inspirational.
It's been fantastic. I'm really proud to be a part of this Cape community. I can't tell you how many people have called to check in on them and have been supporting them, and we just are so thankful to be in such a great community here that really cares about the students, not just as athletes, but as people.
So prior to coming to SEMO, a couple of your stops along the way, Western Illinois University and UT Martin. And for those who don't know, you were a star tennis player at UT Martin. How cool was it for you to then coach in Martin, Tennessee after playing for the tennis squad?
I think it's always special when I can go back there because I was there for a few years. I played there and I coached there as well as an assistant. So for me, it is meaningful to be able to go there and get a win there. Yes.
Yeah, like this past weekend, not only did you beat them, but you crushed them 6-1. Is there a little extra importance when you play Martin? We talked to Coach Tuke, the football coach. He coached at SIU for a lot of years. He says, yeah, it's got a little bit more emphasis when I go to Carbondale. Is it the same for you playing the Skyhawks?
I think so. I mean, you can't help it because it's just a place that was part of you for so long, and you want to go back and be successful and show what you've done. And we most definitely have been able to prove that when we've been to Martin the past couple of times.
All right, you've got Martin, Tennessee. Union City is very close. For anyone who may be, watching any Redhawk athletic event, give us a good place to eat in the Martin, Tennessee area. Where was your go-to?
Well, right now they have a new burger joint that's called The Grind, and
I've been there.
they have these.
My wife and I have been there.
They have these gourmet burgers and gourmet shakes that are few feet tall maybe, but we wanted to go there on Saturday, but it was a 3-hour wait, so we weren't able to.
It's because it's so popular.
Yes.
It is as unique a venue, an eating venue, as I've ever been in.
Yeah, I really want to take the team sometime, but I don't think they would have liked to wait 3 hours to eat. They were pretty hungry on Saturday after playing.
We had to wait a little while to get in. There seems like there's always a line
Yes.
outside at the Grind in Martin, Tennessee. So you were at Western Illinois University, and the only reason I care about that is because that's my hometown, Macomb, Illinois. What was your time like in Macomb? It's kind of not close to anything.
Yeah, it's a little more isolated than Cape, but I don't come from a big city, so it didn't really bother me that much. Cape is the biggest city I've lived in, so I enjoyed my time at Western. I think the people make a place, and I think the people were very kind there. So.
All right, so my big question is, Aurelio's Pizza is the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life, and to this day, you can order it. It gets shipped to you. It's expensive to do it, but it gets shipped to you on dry ice. So I can actually get Aurelio's Pizza delivered. Did you ever make a stop at Aurelio's?
I did, and it was amazing. Like, the bread is really fresh. You can tell that they make their own dough for their pizzas, and it was amazing. It's really good pizza.
Good. I'm glad you're a fan of Aurelio's. So wins over Eastern Illinois, SIUE, and UT Martin to start the season. Getting off to a good start in any season is so important. So now you've got this long conference winning streak, but talk about the 3-0 starts and how you played, and is SIUE the biggest win in conference so far?
Yeah, I think that SIUE has most definitely given us the most competition so far, but we still have some tough matches coming up. This weekend on Saturday, we're going to play against Belmont. I think they're a stronger team than they were last year. He's recruited a new players at the 1 and 4 positions, so that's going to be tough. And I think Murray's going to have another tough team this year, and I think the same for Austin Peay. So I think that we still have a long way to go. It's great to get off to a 3-0 start, but we still have some tough matches ahead of us.
So you won the conference championship last year. As we look at the conference standings, Belmont and Austin Peay are right on your tail. Belmont not only is 2-1 in the league, but they are 9-5 overall, so they already have 9 wins under their belt. It looks like you're going to get some good competition on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. They've recruited a new person at 1 that we haven't got to see play yet. She's a true freshman, so that'll be
interesting. How tough
interesting.
is it to get video so you can kind of?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. Okay.
So, don't have a lot of information about her, so that'll be an interesting matchup for us. And really all the way down the line, I think that I just think we're going to have a lot of, third sets and things like that. That it's going to be some close competitions. Mary
Beth Gunn, the reigning OVC Women's Tennis Coach of the Year, is our guest. We're going to be talking with Grace Powderly from the tennis team coming up. Brady Barkey a little bit later on as well, the Director of Athletics at Southeast Missouri State. So I'll just use baseball as an example. they can get scouting reports. I mean, very in-depth scouting reports about pitchers, hitters, different things. Are you able to get a scouting report? I mean, can you get a scouting report on Belmont's number one? Do schools do that sort of thing? Or in tennis, they really don't?
They don't. But I mean, what we do ourselves is when we play these teams, we keep records, and we actually have the players do like a match analysis. So that way, when we go to play these teams again, at least the people we've seen, we have information on. The problem is with one of their players, she came in January, so we didn't see her because we played Belmont actually in the fall at a tournament and won, but they have different people playing now than they had in the fall, so that's what makes it a little more tricky. But for the people they have returning, we do have reports on them from the past time that we've played them.
So, obviously, the majority of your roster, international players, is that, all the way through the OVC? Do we see the same thing at other schools?
Yeah, for most of the schools, there's some that might carry a few more Americans than others, but for the most part, it's pretty international. That's kind of how tennis is, and there's like a lot of good players worldwide. I think that's just kind of how the sport is set up. It's popular, everywhere in the world versus just the U.S. As maybe you're not going to get international recruiting for American football as much, right?
Sure.
But for our sport, it's really a worldwide sport, so it ends up being a worldwide recruiting class as well.
So what's the scouting report on Austin P? And I ask that because they're the team that beat you in the finals of the OVC tournament. You're an eyelash away from winning the tournament, and that was the team that got you. Right now, Austin P is 4-5, but they've only played one conference match and they won it. But they are riding a 4-match winning streak right now.
Yeah, I mean they have a good coach and they have a good program, and they have some returners from last year, so they're going to be a tough team. He did lose his number one, which is good for us, but he also replaced her with a freshman who's pretty high quality as well, so it won't be easy. I think that it's still going to be just tight matches, and it's going to probably come down to one or two balls, honestly. A lot of these matches can just be just 1 or 2 points difference, and that's probably going to be the situation that we're going to be in again when we play them.
So
but I'm happy that it's a home match and not a away match.
So with the international rosters very heavy, do you ever run across where an athlete knows another athlete or maybe played against them in juniors growing up?
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot, especially because tennis can be kind of like a small world, especially if two players are from the same country. Then most of the time they've played them in their national tournaments and things like that. So a lot of times it's actually kind of neat because they get a big smile on their face when they see their friend from back home. And even if they're competing, I think that they like getting to see somebody from back home.
So are any of the matches on ESPN Plus? I mean, is there any video? Are there ways for family members to I know live stats are, a godsend. Are there any other ways for families to kind of monitor what's going on as it's happening?
Only, really, a lot of the video is in the indoor facilities.
Okay.
And so, like when we played Mizzou and we played Kentucky, those videos were live streamed from their indoor facilities. But I don't believe any of the other matches we have will have video capabilities.
How often are some of the parents able to make the long trip to the United States and watch?
Pretty much never. Yeah, not very frequently. Maybe their senior year or something like that, if it's close to if they're coming for graduation and things like that. But it really hasn't happened very frequently, just because it's expensive, and most of the time from a lot of these countries, you can't just buy a ticket to come to the U.S. You have to get a visa, which means you have to go to the embassy. So it's not an easy process even to get a tourist visa to come to the U.S.
How healthy are you right now?
We're healthy. We have our starters are in, and we're feeling really good. We're trying to take care of our bodies the best we can for this time of year, trying to be smart, trying to do recovery sessions and things like that so that we continue to keep our bodies healthy. And I think the girls have done a great job with focusing on their recovery.
Boy, and I know the weights program at SEMO is very, very good. Talk about what you've seen from maybe your days in Martin playing, where you've seen medical technology kind of advance to where we are now, also with nutrition and recovery.
I mean, SEMO, I think, does a great job offering nutrition. I think it's one of our strong suits. I don't know if any team in the conference is offering what we offer in terms of nutrition with our new nutrition center that we have. I think it's a huge recruiting sell point. Like when I played, if you wanted a snack on court, you better have packed it. So it's very different now. We provide, all of granola bars, bananas, all Gatorades, all those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, the nutrition center on campus, it's a great selling point.
Tell us a little bit about the nutrition center.
Yes, they have a lot of offerings. So the nice thing is that if the athletes before or after workout, if they need something to eat, they can go in the mornings. They have waffles that they can make for around the lunchtime. They have sandwiches they can make. We have cereal, chocolate milk, granola bars, fruit snacks, fruit, eggs, all of the good stuff that they need.
That is fantastic. That's got to be such a godsend for a lot of these athletes, because let's face it, we all went to college. We don't have any money. We're in college.
Yeah, and it's really great too, because we know that they're getting the nutrition that they need, and it's really supplemental nutrition, and so that way we know nobody should be going into a workout hungry, or nobody after a workout is not making up those calories right now. They're able to go over and grab something so that we know that they're getting those calories back into their system after their workout.
So what's the most common injury you see in tennis? I know as we get older, you see the guys with the wraps on their elbow, tennis elbow. What are the things that you really have to guard against? What are the injuries that you see most often?
It's a non-contact sport, so that's the nice part. So you don't see a lot of the injuries that, basketball and football is going to see, because we're non-contact. I would say more of like a rolled ankle or, tennis elbow or something like that.
How about shin splints? It's like you're running around on a hard court. It seemed like shin splints might pop up once in a while.
They can, and they do, and we just try to manage those the best that we can. And if that does happen, I mean, really rest is the biggest thing for those. If we can give somebody a day if they need it, then we try to do that. But most definitely, with it being that hard court surface, it can be hard on the knees and the shins, yeah.
How about the technology advances in the equipment, in the rackets, in the balls? What have you seen over the last several years?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot better. String technology is insane, honestly. So used to, string was what was called natural gut, which comes from animals.
Cat gut.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can still buy that if you want. It's very expensive. It's probably about $50 a set. But now they have synthetic strings that you can get, strings that have more power on it, that are stiffer, that are softer, that have grit to it, that have multi-stranded, that have hexagonal shapes on it. I mean, it's just really unreal, the string technology that's out there now. And
just the racket technology, too. I mean, I remember, John McEnroe used the old wooden Dunlop. Bjorn Borg used to use the Danae racket. I mean, those things are completely obsolete. I know graphite was a big thing. What about the racket technology?
Yeah, I mean, you can really personalize what you want now. If you want a heavier racket, if you want a lighter racket, if you get weights in different parts of the racket now. With a wooden racket, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's wood. But now you're able to really tailor to your game, what is going to fit best for you. So there's a lot of options out there, and the same with strings. So you have a lot of options as a player for what's going to work for you.
I played in a few tournaments growing up. I loved tennis. And I remember when the Prince oversized racket hit the market, everybody was rushing to buy the Prince racket, the big oversized. What are some of the names of some of the rackets now? Do they still use the big overfaced rackets?
Well, those oversized rackets had kind of, as far as professionally, had gone out of style, I would say. But then Wilson actually came out with a revolve racket that was a 107, a square inch head. So it did kind of come back, and actually Serena Williams played with that one. So it came back a little bit, but just that racket model. But for the most part, I would say the racket heads are between 98 to 100 square inch.
Okay, so if you're a player, you're a Division I player, how much is a racket? I mean, one that you're going to use in match play and how many do you have to have? You see the pros; they've got like 7. I'm sure college students don't go to a match with 7 rackets, but how does that work?
I would say most players have between 3 to 4, so that way if you break a string, you have a racket right there backed up, ready to go. But yeah, I mean, 3 to 4 is pretty. If you have 2 and you break a string, it's not super comfortable because then you only have 1 for the backup. So we try to keep people between that 3 to 4 range of racket.
What's a price range on a really good racket?
Yeah, probably $220. Yeah, that's going to be like a professional level racket. We can get better deals than that, thank goodness. but yeah, if you're going to go out and buy like a top end racket that Nadal plays with or something like that, it's going to be $220 per racket.
So you're going to Nashville this weekend, and Music City. That's a fun city. We've been there lots of times. Will they get any time to do any sightseeing? Because if you're from Slovenia or Taiwan, you probably really appreciate Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we'll have for sightseeing this trip because we play Friday afternoon. After that, we'll pretty much shower, dinner. They have studying they need to do,
right.
And then we'll get up the next morning and play Belmont. But in the past, we've taken them to the Parthenon, to Centennial Park, places like that so that they can kind of see some of the neat things in Nashville.
All right. You've got to like the start you're off to, a perfect 3-0, trying to defend your title with the remaining schedule. You mentioned you had Austin Peay at home. Your final 2 matches are at home after this weekend in Nashville. You get Murray State and Austin Peay on your home court. That's a plus.
I'm really hoping it's going to be a huge advantage for us. We get to sleep in our own bed. We don't have to be on the road, so I'm really excited that we get to play those 2 tough matches at home, and I'm hoping that we have good support come out and that'll help make a difference in the energy of the matches.
All right, the next home match, Tax Day, April 15th. The Racers will be here in the following day, April 16th, against Austin Peay. How much of a challenge is it when you play back-to-back days like that on a Friday and a Saturday, because you've got Murray Friday and then maybe your biggest rival, Austin Peay, Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because your legs can be pretty dead the next day. So it's possible that you play an hour worth of doubles and 3 hours worth of singles. So that's 4 hours, that you're running around on the court. So, we really try to do ice baths, foam rolling, things like that, so that we have fresher legs for the next day.
All right, we're going to have Grace Powderly on. Tell us about your Recruitment of Grace and give us some really good information on Grace Powderly.
Well, Grace has been a great member of our team, and she's been very influential as far as helping build our culture and, getting everybody going. She has big energy, is excited about everything that we're doing. And, I was super happy when she, we were in the recruiting process that she was considering SEMO, that she wanted to stay in her hometown. Not everybody does. So, I was happy to hear that she was like, no, I love SEMO. This is where my parents went. I'm excited about this school. So we were really happy that we were able to get her to stay in Cape and to do her education here.
And we'll talk to her about it, but one of these days you'll be calling her Dr. Powderly.
I know. I'm really excited for what her future holds. I know she's going to be a great doctor. She's a very caring person. I know that she's going to put in the hard work in med school. She's already has a crazy schedule now that she does between, her schoolwork, tennis, and all of the volunteer work that she does. So, and she's able to handle that. And so I know that med school won't be a problem for her at all.
It'll be a breeze.
Yes.
Well, Coach, thank you so much. Best of luck the rest of the season defending your OVC championship. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Mary Beth Gunn, the reigning OVC Women's Tennis Coach of the Year. We're going to talk with Grace Powderly. She will join us when we come back. You're listening to the Redhawks Coaches Show, our final coaches show of the season from Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN. final Redhawks Coaches Show of 2022 school year. We'll be back in the fall as Coach Tom Matukowicz's Redhawk football team revs things up. We had Coach Tuke on last week. We certainly appreciate that. They're in training camp right now. A little bit later, we're going to be talking with Brady Barkey. He is the Director of Athletics at Southeast Missouri State. Don't forget, at Wings Etc., they have a brand new revamped menu. And did you know, obviously, they've got the award-winning jumbo wings. Their wings are terrific, but there are over 70 items on the menu that are not wings. It is a diversified menu where you can find the burgers, and it will surprise, if you've not been to Wings, it will surprise you how many different burgers they have at Wings Etc. They also have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much, much more on that big menu. And when you walk in, the first thing you'll notice, all of the flat screen TVs, and they've got the best sports programming. You want to watch Kansas and North Carolina play for the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, they will have it on multiple televisions here tonight at Wings Etc. And they're open 7 days a week, late on the weekends, because oftentimes the games run late. Like tonight, the national championship game doesn't tip until 8:20. And they have added delivery to their operations here at Wings Etc. in Cape and Jackson through the DoorDash app. If you download the DoorDash app, set up your account, take a couple of minutes, and you can get the delicious Wings Etc. menu delivered wherever you are. Good food, great times, Wings Etc. Let's welcome Grace Powderly to the show. And, boy, it's got to be a tough schedule for you. I mean, you're planning on being a doctor, yet you are a full-time Division I athlete. How challenging is that to maintain a 4.0, which is what you have?
Thank you, first of all. But honestly, I think that I've developed the skills to be able to maintain not only a GPA, but also a social life and be able to be involved in the community still. And I think gaining those skills through college athletics has given me the opportunity to grow all the way through my life, being able to be a physician and stay involved in my community too. So I think being an athlete has been a great role in my life and giving me a stepping stone to have a career in the future too.
You're a Medal of Honor winner, and the Medal of Honor goes to the absolute elite athletes academically. There's the Commissioner's Honor Roll, and then there's Medal of Honor, and that is the highest academic achievement that an athlete can have. How cool is that?
I think it's an amazing honor not only to represent SEMO, but also the Ohio Valley Conference and even my team especially. So I'm honored to get the Medal of Honor every year so far.
Now, you feel fortunate because most Medal of Honors come posthumously. I mean, that, when you talk about the military Medal of Honor. So when you're graduating in May.
Yes.
And you will be attending A.T. Still University of Health Sciences in Kirksville, Missouri. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I was really interested in A.T. Still University since my freshman year, and I decided to apply for an early acceptance program there, beginning the application process the summer after my sophomore year. So about a whole year before the normal medical school application process. And this early admission program, I heard back, was offered an interview and then later offered acceptance, and I knew right then that this is the school that I wanted to go to pursue my doctorate in osteopathic medicine. And from there on, I've been set since my junior year. So I kind of got lucky and was able to get this opportunity early on in my college years so I could continue focusing on not even just athletics, but also staying involved at school and in the community.
Now, some people heard you use a 5-syllable word there, osteopathic. Tell us what osteopathic medicine entails.
Yeah, so osteopathic medicine is a specific branch of medicine that basically it focuses on a whole body approach. So it looks at the patient as a whole body and all of their systems working together rather than just looking at the symptoms of a specific individual. And going on beyond that, they also kind of have a more patient-focused approach. And I'm a very outgoing and I love to work with individuals specifically, and I know that I really want to have a role in my patient's life. So that's why I was initially interested in osteopathic medicine. So I think that this form of medicine is really going to fit with my personality and allow me to succeed in the future.
Well, veterinary medicine is different, obviously, than people medicine. My brother is a small animal surgeon, and so he went to not only undergrad but also medical school or veterinary school at Iowa State. And I know not only did he have 4 years of medical, then you had your residency internship. Is there something called an outternship?
I hope not.
Well, I mean, he had I mean, when you graduate from veterinary school, you think, all right, here we go. No, he still had years to go. That's a similar path for a medical doctor, right?
Yes, correct. So I will have 4 years of medical school, and then additionally to that, I'll have a residency. And the specialties that I'm interested in, the residencies are between 6 to 8 years. So I have a long path ahead of me, but I think it's worth it for my future. So.
All right. You are involved. You're the president of the Global Medical Brigade at Southeast Missouri State. Tell us about the Global Medical Brigade.
Yeah, so we're an organization. We started off my freshman year only having about 4 members, so a really small organization. And after I joined my freshman year, we had the opportunity to travel to Honduras on a medical brigade. So our organization is open to all majors, but a lot of medical-focused individuals join because basically we go and travel to either Central America or they also have opportunities to visit Ghana and Greece also. We visited Honduras my freshman year, and we were able to do a 7-day brigade in which we brought medical aid to underserved communities in Honduras. So after that trip, I was all in, and I knew that I wanted to take over and become president. So obviously, due to COVID, we weren't able to travel for a few years. But this year, me and some of my fellow teammates and also teammates, we call it a teammates because when we work together in these communities, it's just like we're working as a team on my tennis team. So I think that that's also kind of helped me be the president of this organization, is having, you know, these teamwork skills that I've been able to develop. But this past winter break, we were able to travel to Panama after COVID, which was a huge deal, being able to get through all the guidelines and restrictions and stuff, but finally being able to go back into these communities that haven't been able to have students and aid for almost 2 years. So I think compared to my first trip my freshman year, it was really meaningful to see that, okay, 2 years without Global Brigades being able to bring aid into these communities, this is how much our work is helping these communities, to see that just 1 week of bringing medical aid into these communities was able to make such an impact in their lives. So I think it was an amazing experience for all 15 SEMO students that went.
The only thing I know about Panama is the canal, and maybe the greatest middleweight boxing champion of all time, Roberto Duran, is from Panama. What was Panama like?
Yeah, so we flew into Panama City. It's a huge city. It was very unexpected to see skyscrapers whenever we're going to Panama, you know, to visit these underserved communities. But 5 minutes outside driving through the city, it was like a complete switch. So basically it was mostly jungle, and a lot of the buildings and homes were just made out of, you know, wood and plastic and whatever they could find and stuff. And so as we traveled along the road, obviously the conditions worsened and we saw more poverty. And I think it was really mind-blowing to see that there can be so much wealth in one city, and then 5 minutes later it's complete opposite. So I think that was kind of unexpected for me to see.
What was the strangest animal/reptile that you saw in Panama?
A sloth. Definitely a sloth. Lots of lizards and stuff, but they're like, oh, those are normal.
My daughter loves sloths.
Yeah. And then we would see sloths just crossing the road, and everyone would stop. And not a lot of people had vehicles in the areas we were at, but we traveled. We were fortunate to be able to travel by buses and still being able to use the roadways and stuff. But definitely a lot of sloths.
The sloth is very popular in Panama, apparently. Grace Powderly from Notre Dame High School and member of the SEMO tennis team is our guest. And you are the only American on the entire roster. What is that like?
Honestly, it's a fantastic experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I absolutely love getting able to be able to experience other cultures, stuff that I never would have imagined being able to experience when I came here my freshman year.
We mentioned Slovakia, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Macedonia, some of the countries where some of the athletes are from. How much language have you learned from some of your teammates? Have you learned words and you know, maybe you know a couple of Russian words?
Yes, so we kind of pick up on each other's, you know, slangs and different terminology, especially on the court whenever we're cheering for each other. I actually started a little like notes app on my phone of, you know, how to cheer in other languages. That way, you know, if Vivian, my roommate, is playing on court 4, then I want to cheer for her in like Taiwanese and stuff. So kind of having those little like phrases and stuff to cheer them on, it makes them feel more like home if we're cheering in their own languages and stuff.
How cool was it to win the OVC championship, and did you get a ring?
Absolutely amazing. And yes, we got a great ring, and we're hoping to get another one this season.
All right, so as you guys come down the stretch here, you're going to Nashville this weekend. Now, Tennessee State has struggled a little bit, but Belmont, this is going to be one of the best squads that you've played in OVC play.
Definitely. Yes, I think that they have a strong team this year. Like Coach said, stronger than last year probably, but we're looking forward to showing them our squad too.
So what was it like being an athlete at Notre Dame High School?
Oh, I had an amazing experience at Notre Dame being an athlete. I was also on the soccer team there, so I was able to play soccer and tennis, and then transitioning from Notre Dame to Southeast, it's been a great transition in my athletic career.
When did you first pick up a racket?
Freshman year of high school.
Freshman year, so you didn't play as a kid?
I did not. I was a soccer child, and then I came here, and I was like, this looks interesting. So decided to pick it up and try it.
Any of your family members play, so you have somebody to hit balls with?
Not really. They all tried, though, and they all helped as much as they could.
I remember when I first started, and one of the things, it didn't mean that you had someone to hit balls with, but they've got the wall, with the white line there, and I would just pound balls off the wall, just working on my strokes at a city park out in California. And then finally I got good enough to where, hey, would you like to hit? And you get on the court and start swinging the racket. When did you know that you had a gift in tennis?
I would say, honestly, after that first season, I kind of decided to put soccer on the back burner and train a little bit harder for tennis. I started playing in St. Louis, too, so that way I could play year-round. And I realized that, hey, I might be actually okay at this, and decided to put the effort in to get to the level I am at today.
So you're recruited by Southeast Missouri State right here. How tough of a decision was that for you that you decided you were going to stay right here in Cape? And I know your parents went to Southeast.
Yes, honestly, it was an easy decision. I think I was decided on my first visit that this is where I wanted to call my home for the next 4 years. And obviously, my parents both went to SEMO, so we had a lot of SEMO pride in our family. And after Coach gave me the opportunity to join the team, I knew 100% that this is where I wanted to go.
All right. Well, you need to calm down just a little bit, all right? You've got a ton of energy, and that is fantastic. We certainly wish the tennis team the very best, and we wish you the best on what is going to be a long and difficult journey, but rewarding journey to be an osteopathic doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you for having me.
Grace Powderly, the Director of Athletics at Southeast. Brady Barkey is here, and he will join us for our final segment of the season. It's the Redhawks Coaches Show from Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN. season, our final Redhawks Coaches Show. Thanks so much to Mary Beth Gunn, the OVC Tennis Coach of the Year, and Grace Powderly. And now we're going to talk it over with the Director of Athletics, Brady Barkey. Brady, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about both of those guests?
Yes.
I'm not even sure I deserve to be up here at this point.
How about
listening to Grace Powderly? How about that?
She needs to settle down a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the last time we've had somebody on this show with that much energy. It's awesome.
She's accomplished more in her life than most people probably do by the time they retire.
Boy,
so,
you're not kidding.
Yeah, she's a special one.
All right. The most asked question that you get these days as the athletics director at SEMO, what's the question?
It's probably it's close between what's going on in the OVC and Hauk, but probably Hauk.
All right, let's talk about those two subjects. How about
I'm shocked you wanted to hear about one of those.
How about Hauk Stadium? Well, everybody's excited. We've seen the renderings. Man, it's going to be awesome when it's a finished product. Where are we?
Yeah, so as we told people, it's it's something that this construction market right now is really crazy. It's kind of unpredictable in some sorts.
COVID related, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's COVID related. There's some other things too that are causing some other supply chain issues. But I think there was a backlog. People didn't do construction for a while, and now everybody is, and so that's driving the market up too. The demand is there, and of course there's some supply issues. But when we put it out to bid, the bids of course came back much more expensive than what we thought they would be, than what our estimators had indicated. And so, rather than moving forward with something like that at the expense of, potentially being able to get later phases accomplished, because I mean, let's face it, the more you pay in phase one, the more you got to find as you go through the other phases. We decided to kind of reevaluate it and look at ways that we could maybe be more efficient. We could find some ways to be able to, maybe use some different materials, maybe reconfigure some of the things that we're looking to do without having to sacrifice ultimately what we want to put in it. But maybe just slow the timeline down. That was another issue. As aggressive as we were with the timeline, that was driving the cost up as well. So giving us until the fall of 23, we hope we'll bring the price back down, get us back into budget where we think we want to be with it. And at the end of the day, I think we're still going to all get what we want. It's just going to take a little bit longer than maybe what we were, cautiously optimistic for at the onset. And so it's still progressing. We're still meeting multiple times a week with architects and our internal team working through it. And hopefully over the next few months we'll have it back out to bid and be able to start some construction progress that I think people will probably see during the course of the season, some activity happening, and then with plans of completion by the start of the next football season in 23.
Since people found out that there has been a kind of a fly in the ointment there with what your original thought process was, has that helped the fundraising?
I think people, for whatever reason, and try to say this without it being a knock on people, I think people are kind of in this, wait and see kind of mindset that, we're still trying to get people to understand that this is just phase one, and there are other phases. In order to get that pretty picture that people saw, it takes much more than phase one. And so the university and the foundation have committed to being able to get that phase. But the rest of it is where we're going to really need the community and others to be able to step up and support this. And so our hope is that as people see that progress start, that's why this first phase is so important, that people will continue to get more excited and want to be a part of it and want to help. But people are certainly excited about it. I think everybody has thought that, hey, this is long overdue. It's going to be awesome when it's done, which it is. But it's going to take everybody's help, and so we're going to go and bang that drum as loud as we can, because people really need to understand how important it is.
And as far as the Ohio Valley Conference, you mentioned it. We have seen some movement since the last time we talked. Arkansas Little Rock has joined. The University of Southern Indiana has joined. Two non-football schools but then Lindenwood University. And for people that don't know how good Lindenwood's facilities are, jump onto their athletic website, Lindenwood Lions, and they've got some really good facilities. They do play football, so we've had some dramatic shifts in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Yeah, and I think all three of those schools will be great members for us in time. Of course, Lindenwood and Southern Indiana have to go through that transition period, and they'll have to build their scholarships up and probably make some staffing adjustments and some of those things. And in due time, I think they'll be really good members. And in some of their programs, they'll probably compete right away. And, of course, Little Rock is one that's had some really strong programs too. And so I don't think we settled with any of those programs. I think all three of them are good, solid additions. From our standpoint, in terms of just thinking about what's good for SEMO, I think if you look at the new footprint, we find ourselves almost in the middle now.
Yeah.
Where we weren't before, and so I'm excited about that because I think geographically we're better off than we were before. We just still need to figure out the football piece and how we get up to the number of schools that we really need to have to make sure that we can fill out a schedule each year and not be looking at flights out of conference and those kinds of things to be able to fill that schedule out.
Whenever I look at a particular school, the first thing that pops into my mind, how far is it from Cape? I know that Lindenwood's 2 hours. I know Evansville's 3 hours. How far is Little Rock?
Little Rock, you're probably going to be somewhere in that 4.5, 5 hour range.
So like Cookeville. Cookeville.
Yeah, it's going to be a trip kind of like that. It's about 300 miles probably, and so it's not a terrible trip. That still makes kind of that Moorhead trip that longer trip for you. And if you'd have said going into it that would remain the longest trip we'd have, I probably would have thought you're wrong. And so I'm pleased with where we are as a league in terms of getting those schools back. Again, we just need to finish out the football piece and then see if there happens to be somebody else that makes sense. Yeah, let's bring them on. But I hope we're past the point of just adding for numbers' sake because I think we have a solid core.
Well, I'm rooting for Western Illinois. I'm a Macomb guy. I would love the Leathernecks to be in our conference. I know you don't want to toot your own horn, but I'll toot it a little bit for you. You just won a National Athletic Director award. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it was a really neat recognition, certainly something I wasn't expecting. So each year the NACTA, the National Association for Collegiate Directors of Athletics, they have Athletic Director of the Year awards, and so they recognize 4 athletic directors from each level each year. And so I was fortunate to be, from a FCS standpoint, one of the 4 that they selected as Athletic Director of the Year recipients. And so that's a really neat accomplishment, from my perspective. But it also speaks to the things that are happening here, the successes that we've been talking about. It brings all of those things up to a national spotlight and allows people across the country to be able to hear and see those things that have been happening. And so that's really cool for the university. And it's about time that people have started to take notice.
Commissioner's Cup, now that you have won the Commissioner's Cup, do you sit down and you're figuring up points and kind of see where you rank? Does the OVC put something out about where the standings are? And I know, softball and, obviously tennis, baseball, cross country, track and field, all of those things will go into all of the point standings, and we're doing well in every one of those sports.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to that. We're in third, 9 points out, but we've got a strong spring. The interesting thing is the OVC does put it out after each season. The fall and the winter and then final standings. But the reality of it is, the schools that have left, when you look at what we did last spring and that we won everything, we got the maximum number of points you can get. Well, now anybody that is in the mix, they can only go up. They can only increase their possible points. We can't gain any more points because we were already first, right? And so It's kind of one of those that I had a much better feel for where we were in our chances last year because we kind of knew how things normally, would shake out. But I think we've still got a chance. In any event, I think the performances that we've had, top to bottom, I think we've done a really good job, and our spring sports are doing really well. And so we'll give it a run. We'll see what happens. But it's way too soon. There's so much movement that still takes place. I got too many other things to worry about in terms of how each individual program needs to finish to give us a chance. But until that time, we're still Commissioner's Cup champions anyway.
So the baseball team was on the road at Austin Peay this past weekend, so we weren't around for the Cindy Gannon Walk for women. How did it go?
It was a tremendous event. We changed it up a little bit this year. With some of the construction and things that were taken on over at the stadium, we moved it over to the intramural fields by the softball complex, and it was a great decision to move it over there. It gave us an opportunity to kind of have a festival-type atmosphere, and we had a bunch of our student athletes that were out with different stations so that kids that showed up could, play and interact with them. We added a 5K to it this year, weather, everything was turned out great. It was a little bit dicey. We weren't sure what the weather was going to do. Ended up being a perfect day, and it was probably one of, if not the most successful years that we've had in the 15 years in terms of financially. And then to be able to cap it all off, we of course were able to announce that Cindy Gannon was selected for induction into the OVC Hall of Fame, and she didn't know, and so we were able to tell her.
And I saw the photograph. She got emotional.
And amongst all of her friends and supporters that have been with her through that whole event and know how much that means to her, it was really kind of a special moment, and it was something that I know I won't forget anytime soon.
All right, well, you've got the floor for the final word here before we sign off the Coaches Show for this athletic year. What else do Redhawk fans want to know about?
Yeah, well, I don't know what people want to know about, but
what do they need to know?
Well, first of all, I just say thank you for your time and what you do. These have been a great addition to to trying to promote what's going on in SEMO athletics and the ability to get people like Coach Gunn and some of the spring sports too that don't always get the same amount of love and attention, I think has been great. And so I appreciate that. But, I hope what it does is I hope it shows people how special this is right here in this moment that we're in, because, virtually every one of our programs have been champions in the last 3 or 4 years outside of men's basketball, and we'll still give Coach Korn a little bit of time to be able to do that. But, it's amazing what is happening here. And it's tremendous people that have all, every one of these head coaches have had a chance. They could go somewhere else, and they haven't yet. And that's great because it allows us to continue to build something. And there are 300 communities in the country that have an opportunity to have a Division I athletics program in them. And we want people to be proud of that. I mean, I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be in this community and proud to represent SEMO. And I hope that people have that same feeling and get out and support these student athletes and support these coaches, because Grace is the perfect example of the type of people that are here representing this university and this community. And I couldn't be more proud of the job that they do, and I hope that the community is too, because it's special what's happening right now.
Mike Martz, the head coach of the St. Louis Rams, during the Greatest Show on Turf Days, he gave a speech one time to his team in the locker room, and he said, guys, take a look around. Appreciate where you are right now in time, because it doesn't last forever. I mean, this is a special time, and the Greatest Show on Turf was special, and we saw what happened. They went 15-65 over a 5-year stretch after that. So appreciate what is going on while it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I fall victim to it, right? As soon as you win the Commissioner's Cup, you win a championship, you're on to the next thing, right? It's, hey, how do we defend it? How do we go from here to here? And you stop, and you sometimes forget to enjoy that moment and to appreciate the climb that has gotten you to where you've gotten. And It is. It's a special time right now. It's a special group of people that are doing what they do, and I want people to come along for the ride, because everybody wants to talk about St. Peter's. They want to talk about Murray and some of those things that have happened that have really, thrust them into a spotlight. We can have that here. It just takes enough people wanting to come alongside and do it, and hopefully people understand that and are willing to be part of it.
And we don't talk much about Joe Hobbs on this show, but we have done these shows at Wings Etc. restaurants for the last several years. I don't know of a bigger believer in Red Hawk athletics than Joe Hobbs and his wife.
Yeah, no, Joe and Michelle are incredible people, incredible supporters, and they don't just, they just don't support it. Yeah, they don't just support it, financially or through their business. You see them, right? They're active, they're involved. We're sometimes trying to keep Joe from getting thrown out of games.
Get off the court, Joe.
They live it, right? And they are people that talk the talk and walk the walk, and people like that.
He walks the walk in shorts.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. If he's in pants, he always says it's either a wedding or a funeral, I think, is the only time. But no, I mean, we need more people like that, quite honestly, because they understand what this is about and how important it is and the difference that they make too. And hopefully we make a small difference for them as well. But yeah, I mean, people like that, we've got a community full of them. We just need them to step up and support it.
Great way to end another season of the Redhawks Coaches Show. Brady, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And,
thank you.
I guess we'll see you at the ballpark this spring.
Sounds great.
All right. That is Director of Athletics, Brady Barkey. Thanks again to Mary Beth Gunn, the OVC Women's Tennis Coach of the Year, Grace Powderly as well, and, of course, the Athletics Director, Brady Barkey. Thanks to Rachel Cook, Ethan Chow. They keep us on the air here at the Redhawks Coaches Show. And again, Joe and Michelle Hobbs, thank you so much for hosting us. We'll get you back into regular programming on ESPN Radio. Don't forget, softball is in action. They are headed to UT Martin. That is going to be on Wednesday. Baseball probably gets rained out tomorrow against Arkansas State at home. We'll see. But the Racers will be here for baseball this weekend. And good luck to the tennis team as they head to Nashville for matches with Tennessee State and with the Belmont Bruins. ESPN Radio coming up. And don't forget, you can listen to the National Championship basketball game tonight right here. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. So long from Wings, etc.